So I'm here now with Darcy from Homeland Security. Has been a police officer, been a fireman, and now you're thinking about first responders all across the country and are responsible for the first responder program there. Tell me a little bit about what your job is at Homeland right now.
So I'm with the DHS Science and Technology Directorate, and I'm the Executive Director of the Responder Technology Alliance. And what we do is look at innovative technology and, most importantly, innovative methodologies of bringing new technologies to the responder market.
And how big is the responder market? How many agencies, how many responders are we talking about?
That number gets bantered around, but let's go with the 35,000 agencies, departments out there, and 1.2 million responders.
And these are police officers, firemen, emergency services.
Yes.
But it's also a broader universe than just that. As we've seen with companies like Exelon who participated in the program, there are a bunch of people that are on the scenes in disasters, in house fires, that maybe aren't necessarily public servants, but are absolutely first responders.
Absolutely. You know, you look at supply chains of critical infrastructure or how your community operates day in and day out, public works, medical professionals. It is an expansive community.
And the technology for a fireman, I don't know how many years ago it was that you were out there putting out fires yourself, but that hasn't changed very much, what a fireman wears in the field in the last 25 or 30 years. They're wearing pretty much the same stuff.
Axes, waters, and ladders are things you need to fight fires. That hasn't changed, but there's a lot of support tools that have changed over the years.
Yeah, but also when they go out in the field, they're carrying 70, 80 pounds of heavy, hot gear into these disaster situations. And so the opportunity for technology to improve upon that in factors of weight or in interoperability, those kinds of things. Those are very real innovations.
Right, all three disciplines, law enforcement, EM, emergency medical technicians, and fire service, they all have their physical jobs.
Yeah.
And you know, and wherever that can get eased through technology, the boots on the ground, they're looking for those solutions.
So DHS, big bureaucratic organization representing 35,000 different agencies, first responder agencies out there around the country. Why are we doing this with entrepreneurs?
It's part of a bigger picture. There was somebody in the nation had to spearhead. How do we get these collective pieces together? And it goes from everything from congressional interest to special interest groups in Washington, D.C. There's a number of trade associations that represent, law enforcement, fire, and emergency medical services. There's the manufacturers, the vendors. There's the R&D community within government and academia. There is the private sector, vendors, investment community. And so this was the drive, was how can we converge all these interests together to get a unified voice and process in it.
And to get sort of agile innovation from the entrepreneurial ecosystem into the process too.
Absolutely. If you look at the typical model for manufacturing and responder technology, it's a pretty stable market of how they do it and things like that. Now the challenge is when you look at the responders' health, safety, and effectiveness and the performance of their duties, there's a lot of technology that they're just not making it there because the market hasn't adapted to the speed of how those things can be integrated into day-to-day operations.
One of the things you report up ultimately to Undersecretary of Science and Technology, Dr.
Yes.
Reggie Brothers, and who's been one of the chief sponsors of this program. And one of the things I was most impressed with when I first met, I was on stage with Reggie a number of months ago, was he talked about coming from the Department of Defense. They sourced over 50% of all of their science and technology, all the innovation that they bought at the Department of Defense from one of maybe 50 companies. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to really change that at Homeland Security. He wanted to be able to source innovation from thousands of entrepreneurial companies, to turn the entrepreneurial ecosystem into that industrial partnership. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal for government to try to change the way they source innovation.
It's a huge deal. And thanks to Undersecretary Brothers and Deputy Undersecretary Bob Griffin, there was their vision of how do we make the responder of the future and how do we make the market adapt to that future vision.
Yeah.
And there is some models that are learned from DOD. You've got to realize one thing, Terry, it is a fragmented market out there. How a local police department purchases different than a state patrol entity, or how New York City or in New York City Fire Department versus LA would purchase. And it's just how do you work with these market dynamics?
And Homeland Security is in large part also a kind of a grant-making organization. They write a lot of checks to a lot of different agencies who then go and spend that. Homeland doesn't purchase a bunch of things directly themselves.
So we have operational units, Coast Guard, Secret Service, Federal Protective Service, things like this that in fact do buy, purchase, acquire responder technology, and they use it in their day-to-day operations. But the larger market obviously is in the state and local arena.
So one of the other things that Dr. Brothers and Mr. Griffin also had said, I remember in those meetings, was that they were really, really committed to the idea that whatever ventures we worked with through this program, if they had viability for public safety or for first responders, they needed to have broader commercial viability. Can you speak to that? Why was that important?
So this has been the absolute luxury since we started this project probably 9 months ago, is working shoulder to shoulder with people like yourself or other accelerators and the investment community. It is crystal clear that if we can make multi-use, dual use of these products, and we have seen that over and over with a number of our participants in the program, the range of products, yes, they can be used to help responders, but there's industrial uses, there is entertainment, there's the adrenaline junkie and adventure touring and things like that. And I strongly feel, if you don't have those multi-uses, I just don't know what the reaction is going to be by the end. It can be great for America to make everybody safer out there and more effective in their duties, but at the end of the day, there's business decisions.
I'm a big believer in the fact that entrepreneurs need harder problems to solve. We tend to solve the problems that we see in front of us, and if we're not thinking about things that we're not aware of, we don't know to go out there and innovate around. And I think one of the exciting things has been watching bring entrepreneurs into the room and literally bring firemen into the room and watch them put all of their gear on, let them interact with each other, and let them create products and services right there in real time. We saw that happen just this afternoon.
The collaboration and learning curve has been phenomenal. And just as you're saying, between the innovative small companies and individuals to the responders on the ground, well, even to our federal workforce, we had a couple experts that knew accelerators and how they operate. Now we're building quite a nice cadre in it, and we're looking at this as an effective tool to help advance R&D and keeping up with this market speed.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Bye.